What if extinction wasn't the end of the story? If science could restore species that once roamed the earth, what would that mean for nature, for technology, and for us? De-extinction, or species revival biology, is the study of bringing back extinct species through genetic reconstruction. It's an emerging field built on three main methods: cloning, genome editing using CRISPR, and backbreeding, selectively breeding living relatives until ancient traits reappear. The goal isn't to undo history, but to restore balance to ecosystems that have lost keystone species, animals whose absence reshaped entire environments. Still, it raises challenging questions. What responsibilities come with restoring a species? And how do we ensure we're doing it for the planet's benefit, not our own curiosity? Before we explore specific examples, let's look at how the science works. When an animal goes extinct, traces of its DNA may remain in bones, feathers, or frozen tissue. If enough fragments can be recovered, scientists can piece together its genome, the blueprint of life. Using CRISPR, that DNA can be edited into the cells of a close living relative. From there, an embryo can be grown, and, in time, a living organism is born, not a clone of the past, but a genetic descendant carrying its traits. Now, let's explore 10 species scientists have considered reviving and the questions each one asks about the future of conservation. This list begins with perhaps the most controversial candidate of all: a hominin species, our closest extinct relative, the Neanderthal. Neanderthals lived alongside early humans for thousands of years before disappearing roughly 40,000 years ago. They weren't primitive, they crafted tools, used fire, and may have shared the capacity for language and art. Through ancient DNA, scientists have reconstructed the entire Neanderthal genome, revealing that most modern humans today still carry between 1% and 2% of Neanderthal DNA in their genes. In theory, this makes them a potential candidate for de-extinction. Some researchers have proposed the idea of recreating a Neanderthal embryo by editing human DNA to match their genome. But such a step would raise profound ethical and moral questions. Would a revived Neanderthal be considered a person with rights and identity, or a scientific study subject? And what would it mean to bring back another branch of humanity into a world already struggling with its own divisions? The saber-toothed tiger, or Smilodon, ruled the Ice Age with strength and precision. Its DNA has been partially recovered from fossils preserved in tar pits, giving scientists a glimpse into its unique adaptations. Recreating it would require editing big cat DNA to re-express traits lost for thousands of years, a process called genomic substitution. But the world it once hunted in no longer exists. Without mammoths, bison, and vast grasslands, could such a predator ever thrive again? Reviving species is not just biology, it's rebuilding an entire ecological network. The moa, a colossal flightless bird standing over 3 meters tall, was wiped out roughly 600 years ago. Its DNA has been recovered from bones found in caves, and its genome is being compared to that of the emu, its closest living relative. Biotech companies are studying whether CRISPR could insert moa genes into emu embryos. If successful, we might see the return of a bird that once shaped New Zealand's forests. But would a laboratory-born moa still belong in today's ecosystems? Or would it forever stand between two worlds, the ancient and the modern? The elephant bird, the titan of Madagascar. The elephant bird was the heaviest bird ever known, with eggs the size of footballs. DNA fragments from ancient eggshells have offered clues to its genetics. Researchers are exploring how those fragments could be merged with the DNA of ostriches to recreate similar traits. But Madagascar's landscape has changed dramatically. Restoring such a species might mean reshaping the island's ecology to support it, or creating sanctuaries to keep it safe. Would that still be conservation, or something new entirely? The Steller's sea cow, the gentle ocean giant. The Steller's sea cow, a 10-meter-long relative of the manatee, once thrived in the cold Pacific waters near Alaska. It was discovered in 1741 and hunted to extinction within 3 decades. Frozen remains have yielded viable genetic material, and scientists believe it could one day be recreated using the manatee genome as a template. Yet the kelp forests that once sustained it have largely vanished. Would bringing it back help restore those ecosystems, or remind us of how quickly we can lose them? The Baiji, the vanished river dolphin. The Baiji, or Yangtze River dolphin, disappeared in the early 2000s due to pollution and industrial activity. It's one of the few species with preserved tissue samples that might allow cloning through nuclear transfer. But the Yangtze River is now crowded and heavily polluted. Revival without habitat restoration could repeat the same story. Wouldn't it be better to protect today's endangered dolphins before they meet the same fate? The woolly mammoth, the face of modern-day extinction. Frozen mammoth remains in Siberia contain intact DNA. At Harvard University, scientists are using CRISPR to insert mammoth genes into the DNA of Asian elephants. The goal: create a hybrid species adapted to cold climates that could help restore Arctic grasslands and slow permafrost thaw. This is one of the most advanced de-extinction projects on Earth. If successful, it could reshape the Arctic environment, but it also asks us to define what revival really means. Would a hybrid elephant truly count as a woolly mammoth, or something new for a new world? The Tasmanian tiger, Australia's lost predator. The thylacine disappeared less than a century ago. DNA recovered from preserved specimens has been sequenced, and researchers are attempting to reconstruct it using the fat-tailed dunnart, a tiny marsupial, as a genetic host. If successful, this would be the first de-extinction of a marsupial species. It could even help control invasive species and restore balance to Australian ecosystems. But as scientists race forward, they ask, how will society receive an animal unseen for nearly 100 years? Dolly the sheep, the breakthrough that made it possible. In 1996, scientists in Scotland cloned Dolly the sheep using somatic cell nuclear transfer, placing DNA from an adult cell into an unfertilized egg. She was the first mammal ever cloned from a mature cell, proving that a complete genetic copy could create life. Every modern de-extinction project traces its roots back to Dolly's birth. Her story showed us that cloning is possible, but it also taught that cloned animals face health risks and shortened lifespans. Even success brings lessons in caution. The dire wolf. The ancient howl. The dire wolf, a symbol of Ice Age mystery, roamed North America over 10,000 years ago. Recent genetic studies show it wasn't a true wolf, but a distinct lineage separated from modern canines millions of years ago. To recreate it, scientists would need to reconstruct its genome from fragments and combine them with DNA from existing wolf species. Such work could expand our understanding of evolution, but also challenges us to ask, if an animal shares only a fraction of its original genome, is it truly revived, or simply inspired by the past? The what if. Dinosaurs, megafauna, and the limits of DNA. People often ask, could we bring back dinosaurs? Unfortunately, DNA has a half-life of around 521 years. After about 1.5 million years, even in ideal conditions, it decays completely. The last dinosaurs lived 66 million years ago, far beyond DNA's survival limit. But modern birds are their descendants. Some researchers have experimented with chicken embryos, activating dormant genes for tails and teeth, glimpses into ancient ancestry. So while true dinosaurs may never return, their legacy lives on in every bird that takes flight today. Would you want to see science push even further, or should we focus on protecting what's still alive? De-extinction isn't about reversing time. It's about understanding how life evolves, how ecosystems recover, and how technology might help us repair what we've damaged. Some species may come back. Others may remain only as DNA in a freezer. If you could restore one species, which would it be, and why that one? Share your thoughts below. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, and join the discussion.